Hello and welcome to Flory Models. Today we've got something a little bit special. We're talking about our new thick wash. So this is a brand new product which I'm going to be showing you and I wanted to explain a few of the little details with it. So as with the entire Flory Models range, we've got our normal washes, which you all know and have loved over the last 20 years. We've been manufacturing and making those and they've gone down really, really well, as well as our pigments. So again, the thing with all of the Flory Models range, they are all natural earth products, all right? So there's no chemicals in these or anything nasty. They're all earth products, right the way down to the pigments, which actually are earth pigments and not oil pigments and things like that. What this means is they're incredibly easy to use. And obviously in all the cases, you can remove them with just water. But this time we've got something a little bit different with the actual thick wash, because the thick wash is something that's been asked for many, many years now, which is more akin for really heavy weathering. And it's got a few unique properties, which makes it great in certain circumstances, which we'll talk about with a small series of videos which I'll be releasing now. Obviously, the normal wash, you know how to use it. You basically brush it on a completely dry surface and then you can remove it with water. The great thing about that one was, obviously for panel line washes, general grime, things like that, it's got great capillary action. It would flow, it would go off in all the panel lines and do everything else like that. The downside to it though was if you wanted to make very heavy duty, thick weathering, shall we say, things like mud, winter camos and that, it was just a little bit too thick with it. Also, being a fine wash, it used to capillary action zip off in every direction. The new wash, the new thick wash, doesn't do that. Where it goes, it sticks. It literally will just grip onto the surface and it will stay exactly where it is. So anyway, let's have a look at the thick wash. Okay, so our new thick washes, as you can see, they come in a 50ml bottle, same before, slightly different design. Obviously, we've got the new twist top on here. So obviously it makes it somewhat easier to get out because these bottles are a little bit squeezy, so you can get it out. Trying to pour it, obviously, as you'll notice, takes forever, all right? So it doesn't like pouring because it is that thick, okay? So new label, new design. These obviously ones are in the new black labels. It's a bigger label. You've got some more information on the back and things like that to make it nice and easy distinguishable between this and the classic original wash. Unscrew the top, and as you can see, if we do a few stripes with it, you can see it's very, very thick, all right? So we've got a black color. We just put these here, and it'll roll away. We've got a black. Give them a bit of a shake. To be honest, we've been using this one quite a bit. We've got obviously dark dirt, which is a sort of more really dark brown, oily type color. We've got a light, which is technically white. All right, there's not that much to it. So again, as you can see, nice and thick. And as you can probably see with this as well, it's not running away. And that's because it's thick, as said before. It is very much akin to you know, your sort of ketchups and things like that. All right, we've got a sand as well, as you can see from these colors. We've got a rust, just down in here, and then we've got a grey, and then obviously after all we've got one of my favourites, which is obviously the grime colour. All right, so as just with the original wash, you can mix this together to make up any shade or hue you like. All right, so you can just come in with a brush just like this, and if you wanted to, you could take, I don't know, let's take a little bit of this guy. All right, and then you can just come in and add a little bit of white to it, and you can lighten the color. All right, then you could just come in with a little bit of sand if you wanted to, and you can change the color right the way over to any particular shade or hue you actually like. All right, so that's the thing. It's totally water soluble, as we've done before with all of our washes. So again, you can just mix them up and use them just like that. So the drying times with these are a little bit longer. As I said, traditionally with the traditional wash, we used to put it on, you say around about 20 minutes, goes totally dry. Obviously this is a lot thicker, and obviously like thick paint takes a lot longer to dry. So drying times tend to be around about an hour. All right, you've probably got a workable window of just over an hour, so you can still play with this, manipulate it, put it around wherever you want on your model, things like that, or your diorama base. So obviously, where would you use this? All right, so the wash itself can be used in various forms. You could use it if you wanted to as a panel line wash. It doesn't quite have that sort of flow that the original wash has, so it's not going to do great capillary action of getting down into the panel lines and rivets because it is a lot thicker. So, you know, from that point of view, it's not going to do quite as well. But if you wanted to use it obviously for heavy weathering, say on vehicles, on dioramas, things like that, it'll work absolutely fantastic. It dries to a matte finish as well. So obviously when you're putting it down, just let it go, and after a while it will dry out and give you a very nice matte finish. It won't crack, it won't split, it won't peel or anything else like that. Once it's on, it's on. The big thing with this one, because it's very sticky and it's thick, once it goes onto a surface, it will grip to it a lot more than the traditional wash. The traditional wash used to come along, rehydrate it with a little bit of water, and it simply comes off. This one's not designed to do that. This is designed to grip on a lot harder to give you more depth to your weathering. So again, if we're using it for dioramas on floors, walls, pavements, whatever you wanted to do with it, it will go down. You can just leave it there, or you can just give it a buff. Buffing it dry doesn't really do much at all. It really needs the water. But again, warm water will literally lift this straight off. So it is totally safe, just like the original wash as well, which is one of the nice things about it. The wash can be airbrushed, but you will need a larger nozzle size on your actual airbrush. So anything from a 0.4, 0.6, absolutely fine. And you are going to need a little bit more air pressure than perhaps you're traditionally used to doing. Obviously, just like our original clay wash, cleanup is easy with just normal plain water and acrylic airbrush cleaner. After you put it through your airbrush, is absolutely fine. Okay, so what we've got down in here is just a simple, normal model. It's in grey. So what we're going to do is show you how this actually covers it. All right, so 0.4 needle nozzle set combo in here. Air pressure's pretty maxed out, to be honest, as you can probably hear. And then we're just going to blast this on. So nice light coat to start with. So you can probably see within one coat, it covers it very well. So it's just one light coat just to sort of get it all going. All right, give it something to grip to, then come in with a second more heavy coat. There we go. So that's all on there. And as you can see, it sticks. It dries on there pretty much and sticks. All right. It's not going to flow off like the original wash did and go off and zip round to places perhaps you don't want it or anything else like that. It will literally just go on and hold there. It's going to take around about an hour to dry, but once it dries, it will dry to a very matte white finish right the way over it. After that, just like the normal wash, you can do anything you like with it. You can chip it, you can do streaking effects with it, you can just wear through it generally. But because this is thicker and it's got a lot more bite, it will hold on a lot more. It won't wipe away with a dry tissue or your hand or anything else like that. It will stick on like paint. But as soon as you come through with a little bit of water, you'll rehydrate it, it will release, and you can do all the things you love, like chipping, streaking, just generally wearing through it, wear and tear and grime and things like that. The wash as well, obviously you could overcoat it with any other colour as well. It's quite happy to, once it's dried, be overcoated, or as you said before, you can mix it to any particular colour or hue you actually want. Okay, so as you can see, completely dry now. It's gone to a very much a sort of matte finish with this, all right? And that's exactly what we're sort of after. So as you can see, it's in there, everything else. The biggest thing you'll notice when you use this product now is before, if you was to be rubbing it and going through it, it would come off, all right? If you came along with a little bit of tissue here like this and you give it a bit of a rub, you will notice it will come off. Now it doesn't. This has got a lot more bite to it. It's more akin to a paint finish, and this works for any of the colors. Obviously we're doing white here, but if you're putting down the brown or the rust or the sand, you'll get exactly the same effect. What you can do with it though is physically wear through it. So when we say sort of wear through it, again, if you sort of come along and we've got this, it's just a dry paper towel and you keep going at it, you will notice you can take edges off, but you're literally also polishing. You see it's getting a bit shiny now, the actual clay itself, but you can wear through it. But even if you really scrub at this, nothing actually happens. It's properly on here. Obviously the old wash, it would start to come away, all right? But as always, the magic happens as soon as you make it a little bit wet. So we've just got plain water in here. All right, you can be obviously incredibly precise with this if you wanted to be. So if you wanted to, you can take literally a brush. I just find an older brush, a bit stiffly. There we go, just an old brush down in here. A little bit of water on here. just dry brush most of it off, all right? And now you can start to come in and you can reactivate the clay and you can start to make chipping work with it. And you will notice you can do some really quite interesting areas, all right? So you will need to keep wetting your cloth, but you can come down now and you can physically chip for the first time the wash away, and you can do something. So if you imagine this was a tank we're working on, a Panzer or something else like that, and a nice winter camo, as you say, the more you wet it, the more it suddenly comes to life and it will start to release. But you can literally go through and pick out some very nice worn areas like this. So again, you've got great opportunities. Or again, you can sort of speed this up if you wanted to. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a little bit of water, got a tiny little bit of water on the cloth, all right, and then we're just going to start to physically get in here and distress. And as you can see, as soon as you wet it, it will start to come off. But now it's got a little bit of moisture. You can see this angles down in here. It starts to go and you can physically start to wear through, and you can do all these different areas. So it's got so much more bite than it used to. So again, we can start to get in here and you can put scuffs and chunks out of this and wear through it literally as you want to. All right, so that is the nice thing with this particular product now. It's got so much more bite than the old one did. So again, we can just pop down in here, and again, it's going to sort of just literally almost dry brush these areas clean. As soon as we come in, a little bit of water on the cloth, knock most of the water out, spread it amongst the tissue, but lightly wear it. You will notice within a couple of passes, we can do some really fine sort of weathering effects with hardly any touching it or getting involved with it at all. So you can just go in here and weather down into it just like this. And again, we can just pop along these rear areas and we can make scuffs. And again, if you wanted to, you could use you get a brush, knock most of the water off. And again, you can be a little bit more precise, so you can just wear through and you can make little chipping type things like we do here. So we just put a little few chips in here, some scrapes, as you can see, or you can sort of just wear through a little bit, whatever you want to do. And again, it's good to chip and to take chunks out of this with. As you can see, there's a lot you can do with this. So usual thing with this, if you don't like it and it's going horrendously wrong and you're thinking, oh God, I've just completely stuffed this up, then don't worry, just wash this off or recoat it. Just give this another coat right the way over the entire thing and you'll be good to go. So what you've got here is a situation where you've got a tougher finish to this. The actual wash itself now has got so much more bite. It sticks on here like paint, totally water soluble, it's totally safe, and you can just wash it off and go again. And that's the great thing with it. Obviously over here on the other side, you can put it on with a brush as well. So if we just take a little bit here, we've got the dark dirt, give it a little bit of a shake. And what we'll do, we'll just pour this in. As you can see, it's big, it's thick. It doesn't like to run. That's the nice thing with this one. The wash, the old one used to go everywhere, but what you can actually do then is just come along and you can stipple this about. Use a little bit more, get a good dollop on here. You can stipple this all in and get this all to go. You can just brush this on if you wanted to as well. So if we just do down in here, quite a light version of. All right, so we just do a little bit here, then we'll switch colours to a black, I think. We'll try it with a black, look good with the black. So again, you can just put it on like this, and say you stipple it around, and as it starts to dry, you can then come along with a second coat and you can put that on. And then what we're going to do is going to grab a little bit of the black just down in here. So I've got some of the black in, and obviously these colours mix as well, as you can see. And if you wanted to, you could literally paint this on. So again, go all nicely down in here. And all the rest of it, what we'll do a black leg just down in here, So you don't have to airbrush this if you don't want to. You can actually put it in. Obviously, airbrushing gives you a nice, smooth finish to this. But if you wanted to, you can just pop in here just like this, and you can go along. If you want to speed up the drying times, you can do as well. Hairdryer, cool setting. Don't make it too hot, because all you can do is melt your plastic. All right, but as you can see, that's all on there like that. All right, and what it'll do, it will slightly self-level, but it will still give you some texture. Don't worry about the bubbles. The bubbles will all pop and they'll go. So we just grab a little bit of the grime on this one. But as you can see, great thing about this is it doesn't suddenly shoot off everywhere like the old wash used to. All right. The old wash, don't get me wrong, it still has its place, because if you want it to do a simple panel line wash, you're far better off with the original Flory Models wash than you are with this one. This one is obviously a bit more thick. It's designed to, you know, sort of grip and be really part of your weathering. So if you want a nice clean model, then you probably don't want to be using this. But again, if you imagine that we're using this type of scenario and we're doing it with something like a, you know, a diorama base, or if you're working on sort of, you know, a vehicle with plenty of weathering, heavy duty mud, stuff like that, then obviously it will work exactly the same as well. So it'll give you that nice heavy duty, worn, muddy look to absolutely everything. But again, the great thing is you can pop it through an airbrush and almost treat it like a paint, put it down just like that. Or say you can pop it on with a brush, get a little bit more texture to it, a little bit more going on. So you will find it will sort of self-level, it will sort itself out a little bit, but it's not running off. Obviously, if you just put the normal wet wash on here, it would now be all over the bench. And obviously we would have now painted the entire of this side as well. But obviously, as you can see on the top, it's not running over, it's not coming through. It just sticks exactly where it is. And that's the beauty of the thick wash. So what we'll do is we'll leave this guy just down here like this. We'll let him totally dry off, and then we'll come back and we'll see what we got. Okay, so as you can see, wash totally dried. Have a look on the close-up. You can see, looking pretty darn good. See, it's moved itself out. To be honest, this bit here, as I sped it up, got the old hairdryer to dry it, so it does it. But naturally, it will sort of self-level, and it will sort itself out just like that, really. All right, so no problems with that. So normal thing again. Just to show, we get a little bit of cloth. So as you can see, dry cloth on here, and you can see how well it blends in as well, where we did the black and the other bit. So again, we can just, nothing really comes off like this. You can take some areas and polish it a little bit, but nothing really comes off, not like the old wash. So again, we're just going to wet it just a little bit, and then we'll just give it a bit of a rub, and you can see starts to wear it down and take it off, and you can do some nice sort of funky things with it. But also, like we were saying, you can rehydrate the clay. So we just another, just water down into here, onto a brush, and then you can start to manipulate it and chip with it and drag and scuff and whatever you want to do. Again, you can literally stab at this to, you know, get different sort of weathering effects. And again, you can sort of dab to dry it and do all these different things. So again, it's very nice, versatile for doing it. So if you think about doing buildings and brickwork and all these different areas, as you see, you can do so much with it. Bit just down in here, and then again, if you don't really like it, you can just rehydrate it, take it back into a liquid state just like that, and then you just literally wipe it all off. So also it will work, as you can see, like a panel line wash as well, just down in there. But again, it's one of these things, you can literally use it hundreds and hundreds of different combinations and the different ways you want to use it. So you can either pop it through an airbrush and just blast it on, let it self-level, let it dry, and then work on it, or you can just brush it in and give it a little bit in there, and various states just like that. The last thing you can do with it, you can really thicken this stuff up. All right, so easiest way for this is to grab yourself some pigment. So obviously we do the Flory Models range of pigments, which pretty much follow the range of the washes down in here. Off the top. All right, so down in here we've got some, this is light earth, I do believe. So what we do is we just come in here with, let's do something different. Let's have a little bit of the brown. All right, so we put a little bit of the brown just down in here. All right, and then we'll just grab a little spatula here. So what we can do, we'll just come in, just going to grab a little bit of pigment. We just put it down there, so we don't need tons of it. And then we're just going to come along with a brush, and we're just going to mix it together. Now, because the pigment is obviously so dry, it then mixes into the mud colour down in here, and because obviously we're using a muddy type colour. All right, then you can come up with a nice thick, doesn't fall off the brush or anything else like that. And then if you wanted to, you could come on and you could really lava this stuff up. So you can just stick it down, and then as it starts to dry, you can literally then just start to work it all the way around. All right, so if you see it just down in here, you can literally see how this sort of goes. So if we just do this bottom leg, and we'll leave a bit of a lump, shall we say, just down over the feet, just to show you. All right, just like this. So imagine if you were doing a bit of armour or a vehicle or something else like that. So we're just going to clump this down in here. So just so it's nice and lumpy and yucky and chunky. All right, and if you leave that, what that'll do is physically dry just like that. All right, just pop some more lumps down in here. Okay, so what I'll do is I will leave this to dry like we've done with the other ones, and then we'll come back and you can see just exactly what you get. But what it'll do is basically stay like that. It'll dry out and all the rest of it, but you can do that with any colour you like as well. All right, so that's the nice thing to it. Lastly, what you can do, if I just pop him over here for a minute, is you can take things like this is the light wash or any of the other washes that we do in our little range. Keep the top nice and clean. All right, you put a little bit of the white down in here. You can take said coloured pigments, and again, we just add a little bit, not tons, just down in there, a couple of little bits. All right, I'll get a clean brush. All right, and then down in here, you can mix the pigment in with like the light wash to make pretty much any colour. So to start with, obviously it looks quite white because the pigment needs to rehydrate and to reactivate. Obviously being white, it will lighten any of the colours you go in here. So this is like the light earth colour. So now it will lighten that slightly. So as you can see, just down in here, you've got it as a nice thick again. But this is still going to go just like the other one did. So if we show it just down in here, not quite as thick, this particular one. All right, so if we just come down in here, you can see we can paste this on. There's a little bit of a thinner type mud effect right the way over this. So if we just do like we did with the other one. And then this will stick on. And again, great thing is you can easily take this off with water. So it will rehydrate. Even when this goes dry, you can rehydrate it. So if you wanted to go completely over the top, let me get those to go down, lock in, completely over the top. Obviously what you could do is you could physically add more and more pigment until you end up with literally it like rock. Now obviously that won't dry off, and then once it's dried off, it won't be able to go back to being a liquid state. But what it will do is soften slightly. So if you imagine, you know, the old trick, you put PVA glue in it. Trouble with PVA glue, once it's on, doesn't move. That's it. This will. So you don't have any worry about this. Again, and I'll show you, if you didn't like any of this, you can just wash it all off again. And I will show you. We'll take it get a bowl of water in here and I'll show you how easy it is to remove this once it's all on. But what we'll do, we'll let those dry. They're going to take roughly around about sort of an hour as usual, maybe 2 hours, because it's very, very thick. So when it's drying, you might notice that obviously some of the big thick areas take a lot longer to dry, but that's the thing. But you can still overcoat, you can still add to it, go right the way through with it. So if you're using something like the light wash, you can add any of the earth color pigments to it, any of the rust color pigments to it, right the way through to add to make thick, heavy duty weathering. But as I said, the great thing is, don't like it, warm it up, make it wet and get rid of it again. Okay, so it's been a couple of hours now and you can see that it's almost dry. This is what we were talking about, this rear little leg here. You can see that it's not quite fully dried yet. It's got a little bit in there, but hopefully you can see that texture and the mud and everything it's got. It's a nice three-dimensional look now to the actual leg, just like that. And as always, don't forget, you can literally start to weather this and work it in. As you can see on the front leg, just down in there like that. So if you wanted to, you could come back in with your little bit of water again. We just get a little bit of water, cloth, same thing. So again, you can come in here and you can just brush down onto it a little bit, and then the camera's a little bit close for this, there we go. And then we just take a little bit of water and we can work it, reactivate it, play with it, start to chip, wear through, whatever you'd like to do with it. So again, it's not like it's in there and it's just stuck. So we just dry that. So you can come up with all different types of thing with it, and even goes for the stuff down in here. I know it's obviously a little bit more heavy, but same thing, you can just literally come in and you can work your way through it with a wet cloth and can do all types of funky type things to it, just to sort of wear into it and things, sort of chip at it and flick it and everything else in between. All right, so again, it's just one of those really nice products. And again, like we were saying, it's totally safe. So when we say like it's totally safe, we mean, if we just pop over here, for instance, on this side, if we wanted to, you can literally just take a little bit of water. Warm water obviously works better, and then just place it on. And again, this has been on a good few hours now since we started, and you can just literally come in amongst this and wipe this off. And obviously with a sponge, you'll get it out all the panel lines as well. So it's 100% safe on your model, just the same as the actual washes. You don't have to worry about it at all. Again, warm water and a sponge, it will get it all out the panel lines, and you can completely take it back to your paintwork and then go again with your weathering. So hopefully you can see you've got lots of different options and ways of actually working with this. And again, you can build upon this as well. So you can add more layers to it, more depth, different colors, mix the colors, whichever way you want to do it to produce anything or any type of effects you might be after. Again, thick, heavy-duty mud right the way through to something a little bit more worn and grimy, something like this that we're doing just on here, up here. But again, same thing, you can easily get in amongst this and you can chip and strike it and all the rest of it to sort of wear it down to give you any type of effects you want. And that's the nice thing here. So it doesn't matter if it's a winter camo type wash or it's heavy duty weathering or you want thick mud effects. Obviously you can flick this stuff, you can go right the way through to get any type of effects you like. So there we go. As you see, there's hundreds of different things you can do with this. And don't forget, you can overcoat this, you can change the color of this, you can blend colors together to give you any type of effect you want. And again, if you don't like it, warm water and a sponge, rinse it all off, start again, and away you go. So there we go. I hope you enjoy obviously using the new weathering wash. I'm really excited to see what you guys can do with it as well. So if you've had a play with it, you've had a technique or something that works really, really well, please shoot me an email or a message or something else like that. And then I can share it with the community, obviously on our social media and obviously on the Flory Models live shows as well. So it'd be great to see your feedback and your particular projects you've done with the weathering wash as well. Really excited about this one. I know it's been asked by lots and lots of people for many, many years, and it's taken quite a long time to develop it and to get it to the point where we're stable and it's good and it's fine and it can do exactly what it wanted to do. So hopefully now you guys can take it to that next level. So there we go, the new Flory Models Thick Weathering Wash.